Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Hope you're doing well. Congratulations for surviving the Christmas season. To those of you who have the little ones like I do, man, that is a wild ride. You got the cold weather, which leads to sicknesses, which leads to exhaustion for you as parents because you're caring for every need, and then you get hit with the bug. That happened to our family. And of course, there's all kinds of fun and family and travel and meals and preparation and cleaning and so it's a wild season, and hence the delay or the lag in content creation for the channel recently. But definitely I'm still excited and maybe even more so now than ever, because man, this is, even though things are looking a little red, it's to me, that's the sign of an opportunity to come. And so today we're not going to talk so much about the broad picture, but I definitely wanted to give you some sense of where we've been for the last 2-3 weeks. But today I want to get into one specific topic around the legends that are for sale currently, and they're about to come off for 13 and a half days for Fizz and Warborn, Shaman, and Fizbo. And I want to talk about them. So that's what this video is going to be about. If that sounds interesting, stick around and stay tuned. Otherwise, stay tuned for more content from me coming in 2025. Let's get into it. Okay, so Hall of Legends, 2 new legends that are out available for sale right now. And there have been a lot of great legends recently. And some of them I've bought and some of them I've wanted to buy but just couldn't pull the trigger. But this one I think I'm going to need to buy. And so I want to talk about why. And I want to get into both of them. But let's start with Warborn Chief Shaman first and foremost. The stats are on the screen here. We got Warborn Chief, 10 mana cost, 3 magic damage, 3 speed, 4 armor, 8 hit points. And I featured this card. Thank you, Splinterlands, for letting me, I guess, leak part of this. We didn't at the time know that it had, I think, poison and self-heal. And those 2 abilities were X'd out or hidden. But I did know a lot of the other details about this card, and I shared it on X. So if you want to follow me on X, it's time and attention. But, you know, solid stats. 10 mana is a little bit high, but you know that we see a lot of high mana matches in Splinterlands lately. And I think there's a lot of room for this to work, especially when you see multi-splinter happening where you can get into a blue team, a black team, and, you know, maybe sometimes they both work together as well, which is interesting. But the magic is relatively low for the mana cost, but the kit, I think, augments that or supplements that in a very effective way. This card to me strikes me as like a strong card, but it's not the best of these 2 legends, and we'll get into why. So Warborn Shaman does have some synergy. You know, you got 3 magic damage, which I just said is not super high. It's not particularly low, but you can expect your opponent to either bring a silence or perhaps a void or a void armor. All of those are going to really impair your ability to drop for that to be meaningful, for that 3 damage to be meaningful. The 3 speed also is a problem because any sort of phase is going to be you're going to have a hard time hitting phased monsters. Usually phase monsters are going to be 5 or 6 speed, plus the opponent is going to build a team in such a way where there's blind or there's swiftness or whatever, or flight even, which is something I like to do with my phase monsters using Darth Squirrel. And so, you know, this is absolutely the case that this is, let's say, on the low end of damage output and stat abilities. It is relatively reliable or resilient is the word I'm actually meaning to say there. Like it has the armor is void, so that's great. The hit points are not inconsequential. One strengthen on your team, which is quite common, is going to bring you up to 9, which is going to heal you 3 every time with the self-heal. So it's got a strong kit. And I mentioned a moment ago about the synergies around the damage output because Poison in conjunction with the damage really amps up its effectiveness. I mean, Dr. Blight only does 2 magic damage intrinsically or base on the base, and then you add a poison to it and suddenly Dr. Blight is, you know, really contributing. And there's actually a good number of poison monsters in Splinterlands now where, you know, the damage might be really low, but it drops poison. And I find they can be quite effective actually really, really quickly. I think some of them are soulbound cards. But let's have a look at this. Poison. And I want to look at modern. Reg foil. So Acid Shooter is a huge example. This card has, for 2 mana, is a scatter shot and a poison. I love the scatter shot in conjunction with poison because you get to drop it here, there, and everywhere. If it's just snipe, if it's just sneak, if it's just frontal assault, it's going to poison one place over and over again. And with Acid Shooter, with the scatter shot, same thing with the Chaos Adjutant. You get the opportunity to drop a poison in various areas because of that scatter shot. This was the card that I was thinking about just now when I was recognizing and commenting on low magic damage, but poison. At the highest levels, this thing does only 2 magic damage, but it has poison. And I find great use and usefulness for the Chaos Adjutant regularly. I play this card a lot. And so that, to me, is one more example, in addition to the Acid Shooter, where poison, and everyone loves Uraeus. It's one of the most effective sneak monsters because for the cost, you get a relatively high melee damage with the 1 armor, with low hit points, but then you also have poison. Soul Strangler is great. All these cards on the screen. Poison's amazing. Poison is amazing. And so I do really believe that this is a significant contribution to its overall kit. The self-heal makes it that much more resilient for things like Earthquake rule set, or maybe its Noxious Fumes rule set, where it can self-regulate against one of those 2 environmental hazards. The Ambush is also amazing because, again, 50% poison is so powerful, and it's such an important part of why this card is good. Giving yourself 1 more round to drop that poison is going to be really integral for getting the most out of this card, right? You have that round 0 with which to drop 1 more poison. And certainly, here's the problem. It's not Scattershot. It's not problem. It's problem or yes or no. You look at it however you want. It could be Scattershot due to rule set, but otherwise it's going to be regular, just attacking the frontal position. And therefore, I do find that one piece is a little less. I almost would love this as more as a Scattershot, is what I'm saying, because poison being Scattershot is so awesome and can be such a win condition. So great card, good card, strong abilities, relatively lower on the stat side, but there's a lot of synergy and resiliency built into it. The 10 mana is obviously it's less of a limitation because of its cost point, because like I said earlier, 99 mana happens quite frequently, but it's more of a limitation in the sense of giant killable. And so yes, giant killers are, I think, being reduced greatly in the context of modern as we move away from chaos. Let's quickly confirm that. Giant kill. So if I look at modern, we look at giant kill, and we just look at rebellion. Boom. No giant killers in rebellion. None. Not one. But I don't believe that that'll stay the case. I believe that we will see some giant killers. I do. And so I'm not predicting that some of these abilities are just going to disappear. I'm predicting that they will come back, and therefore that has to be almost like it has to be mentioned as part of the limitation of this card's kit. I do think that is part of it. Impede, I didn't even comment on, but quickly, not cool. Not the biggest piece of this. So poison for me, the self-regulation against environmental factors, the void armor and the sustainability, those are the factors that make that interesting for me. And I would like to get this. For me, I'd like to get this at, I think it's level 6. Where is it? Yeah, level 6. 6 is where you unlock the poison. I think if you're going to buy this card, if you're going to play this game at a high level, if you want to fight in modern, I mean, frankly, even if you want to fight in wild, but I think this has a real role to play. And I think this kit is substantial and justifies the purchase. But to me, particularly at that level 6, of course, I want the self-heal, but that you're talking double the BCX almost. And so for me, I'm going to seek to find a level 6 on this guy. 60 BCX, and that to me would be like a middle of the road purchase, because I feel there's a better purchase here. I feel there's a more important purchase here with the Fizbo card, which I now want to switch gears and talk about. This card looks great. This card, not only does it, actually, I really don't like the art style. I think it looks, I don't love the goofy, playful side of Splinterlands cards. Just preference. I prefer the more serious, not that this is scary or dark. It's still got Warborn Shaman has a playfulness to the art, doesn't it? But it's more, I don't know what word to say there. It's not real. It's not realistic, but it's less silly or playful. And playful can be good. I think Byzantine Kitty's a fine, playful example. I don't love the color combos on this card. Like the clothing, the style. I think I just don't love the art on Fizbo, but I love the design of the car, the synergies, and the utility of its functionality. The importance of its functionality is what I mean to say. Fizbo, 6 mana, 3 magics, similar damage output. Again, dual splinter, dual element. And this synergy is going to work in a critical way for my deck. Part of what I talk about on the channel, and you guys know this, is we talk about you can't afford everything. I just talked to you about how I'm not going to aim at getting a full Warborn Shaman. You can't afford everything. You can't, period. Most, 1 out of 10,000 people is going to be able to buy everything they want in this game. Every one of the rest of us has to make choices. And so to me, the choice ends up being, which splinters am I most planning to utilize, and how do I already win this game? There are certain key win functions or approaches to success that I have within Splinterlands that I know I rely on. One of them is the squirrel. My squirrel, I wish I could use my Splinter Coach data, but it's out. I'm not paid up for the month, so I'll have to get that squared away for January. But my Darth Squirrel, Riskal Drath, which I'm going to show you quickly on the screen because I know not everybody's going to know what I'm talking about. Riskal Drath, aka Darth Squirrel, is functional within the fire and the earth splinter, and it has archery damage, and it has true strike, and it has taunt. Man, I love it. And the flight. This card, I use this all the time, and I use it to roughly a 65 to even a 70% win rate. Now, that's a bit of an exaggeration. I think it's closer to 65%. But I play it a lot. This card, I use this card so much. And so I need to know that. I need to know that about myself. That's one of the ways that I win the game and how I find success within Splinterlands Modern League at a high level, Diamond 1, Champion 3. And so if that's how I do, I want to make sure I'm providing a certain kit for myself as I move forward in the evolution of what Modern is going to be. We know Chaos Legion is rolling out as we see Conclave Arcana roll in. I need to think that through. And I shout out to Gathering the Magic, who you guys know I love. And he has been pointing, let's say, carrying the banner that communicates to our community the reality that certain pieces of certain kits that you have relied on are going to disappear. Once Chaos Legion's gone, there are almost no tank heals. And yet we have Fizbo here available to us, tank heal. And Affliction is super important as well. And this new ability, Shroud of Reflection, is really cool as well. At the start of the battle, adjacent units gain Reflection and Shield. That's so important because Blast is more and more prevalent and problematic. We even have a summoner in the dragon. I forget his name right now. The dragon summoner that brings in, there he is, Nidhogger. Nidhogger can bring Blast with him and can attribute it to 3 of your opponent's monsters. And so Blast alone from Nidhogger. Now, mind you, that is one of the 2 kits that Nidhogger can offer, and I do believe the Execute speed buff is the better kit. So when I use Nidhogger, I don't often use Blast. But I'm saying Blast is prevalent, it still exists, and even as we look forward toward the new Modern, if I go back to monsters, the new Modern, we're still going to see Mantaroth, we're still going to see Darg, we're still going to see, we're going to lose Chaos Dragon. Yeah, we're still going to have Sergeant, so that there is only 3, but there's 3 among 7, which is to say, there's still 3. And I bet there'll be more, and Nidhogger can bring in anybody be Blast. And we know there's a rule set where Blast can happen. And so for all those reasons, Reflection, not to mention, by the way, Mylor and his Thorn annoying damage. Reflection Shield prevents the Mylor from thorning you to death. And so I do feel like this Fizbo and this particular ability, Shroud of Reflection, is actually a counter to a lot of what is meta right now. And so this card, for almost this reason, but for a lot of reasons that I think I've scratched the surface over already, is definitely the better of these 2 cards. This card to me is must have. And I'll tell you about what levels and why in a minute, but I think this card, Fizbo, is must have, whereas Warborn Shaman, I would definitely like at that level 6. And so Fizbo, why is it must have? Well, tank heal, the importance of tank heal. And look at this. Look at the screen here. This is our current tank heal in Modern. Goblin Psychic, Chaos Legion. Venari Crystalsmith, Chaos Legion. Minerali Guardian, Chaos Legion. And so half of the cards on the screen are Chaos Legion. They will move out of the out of the Modern League as soon as Conclave Arcana comes in, which should be around April. So in the next 3 to 5 months, I'm expecting half of these healers to disappear. And tank heal is such a crucial part of what it is to have high level success within Splinterlands. It's such an integral part of how most of us succeed within the game. You build a frontline tank. Maybe you do big hit points and you do something with a lot of resiliency. I'm thinking things like Grim Barden Smith or Coral Lurker, cards that have huge hit points and are, for whatever reason, either because of their intrinsic sort of like shield or void armor, these types of things, they help stay alive longer. And so heal and repair are so important. But half of these are gone. And when they disappear, Anna Susair, Salitha Toledo, Mary Pope Magician, and Fizbo will take a larger role. And I pointed out earlier how Fire and Earth are two of the cards that I rely a lot upon already as a sort of how I already have a high level of success in Modern. If I want that to sustain and to continue forward, I'm going to need to find replacements for cards that I'm going to be losing. Goblin Psychic is a card I rely on in conjunction with my Riskal Drath Fire Earth combo. This is a Goblin Psychic is a healer that I'm no longer going to be able to rely upon. And yes, I have Salitha Toledo and I use it. And I do like that one with Squirrel as well. But Fizbo is going to fit in there nicely. And it's not just about the tank heal, but the tank heal argument is solid, right? I think I've showed that if half of the healers are going to disappear, this has a very strong role. And then when we look back at the stats of Fizbo and see where it breaks down, you got tank heal on level 1. 1 BCX of this card will make this functional and important to have at every level of the game. 4 hit points is relatively small, but it has 4 hit points even at the highest level. And so that limitation, like trying to compare the lowest level 1 to level 4 and seeing where the differentials are and where the justifications are to maybe go deeper in and buy that extra BCX. Hit points is not one of them. It's uniform right across the board. 6 mana is relatively cheap for a tank heal. I already showed you we're losing Goblin Psychic that has 2 damage output, I think at the lower levels at least, 3 at the higher levels, I think. So you get magic, you're getting a magic replacement, you're getting a tank heal replacement. It's a relatively slow card. It feels a lot like Goblin Psychic, except it's playable on fire as well, which I love, by the way, because I don't always and exclusively play Riskal Drath when I play fire. So you want tank heals on both those splinters, green and fire. Fizbo does both. And Shroud of Reflection is such an important part. I have pointed to Nidhogger, I pointed to Mylor. There's other reasons too. I mean, forget about summoners that do things like that bring out Blast or bring out Thorns. There's just a bevy of monsters that are going to do things like Thorn you. From the Modern perspective, let's just feature on Rebellion. So from just Rebellion, there's a summoner that can do it for 2 different full splinters. There's a neutral, there's another intrinsic Lycero right there. What about Magic Reflect? Magic Reflect. There's another 3 different monsters that are dropping Magic Reflect. What about Return Fire? Return Fire is another important thing to understand the significance and importance of Reflection Shield. So there's it. I think I scrolling across all those screens, I believe there was something like 12 intrinsic monsters or monsters that intrinsically carry one of those functions: Thorns, Magic Reflect, or Return Fire. And for any of those things, that's 12 approximate reasons why you want to have a selectable and a deployable Reflection Shield. That absolutely matters. And when I earlier cited the reliance upon Riskal Drath, you got to know that the thing about Riskal Drath is that it's an archery buffer. And so a lot of times how this has success is it uses a lot of the amazing archery monsters on the fire team. But when that becomes predictable, my opponents will drop Return Fire on me. And so, for those reasons, man, I feel like Fizbo is really a complement and maybe even a mini buff to Riskal Drath, and bringing it up in competition with, say, for instance, maybe to a lesser extent Nidhogger, because I said Execute is the more preferable tactic to choose, but Tofu certainly. And so for those reasons, man, Fizbo to me and my game style is absolutely crucial, but not just to me, I think to all of us, because as I pointed out earlier, the number of healers is just absolutely depleting when we go from current Modern to just Rebellion. Boof, just gone. You're down to 3, and then Fizbo's would be here too. And so I think that's an important consideration, but that reflection shield is also a big picture, a big piece of why. And finally, affliction is always good. So one more time, looking at the individual levels on Fizbo, I think everyone needs to have one of this card. It's 50,000 DC to buy it from Splinterlands, but it's actually, there's a couple in the marketplace that are a bit cheaper. 47,000 DC, I think it was. There's Fizbo. Right now, at least you can get one for 43,000. You can get several of them for 43,000. Look at that. So what that reflects is some whale that's buying a bunch of copies, maybe to compete on the leaderboard, or maybe to chase down gold foil copies. Whatever the case may be, they're giving you an opportunity to buy it cheaper. And so I'm about 4,000 shy, but I think one is necessary. I really do think one is necessary for everyone who's going to play this game in Modern moving forward. Now, 3 is crucial. I think absolutely crucial. Level 2 is such a big upgrade because the reflection shield matters for all the reasons I pointed out earlier. Now, level 3, gold league level with the affliction, certainly desirable. The 1 extra hit point, the 1 extra speed, certainly desirable. But I think, frankly, if you're gonna invest in it and you want to buy multiple BCX, I think you need to have 1. If you can afford 3, that is so important. 3 to me is must have for anybody who's like higher level within the game. And then I think if you're going gold, you got to go all the way. And I think you could settle on level 2. I think there's an argument to be made, even if you're playing high level diamond within Modern, especially as I imagine the future Modern League shaking out and many players moving into WoW because of Chaos Legion being a huge part of how they play at a high level in Modern, that disappearing, and now they're going to want to move leagues. So if that changes let's say the population base of Modern, I think you might get a little further with less. And so level 2 might be good for high level success in, let's say, high diamond next season, or rather once Conclave comes out. And of course, affliction's great, and like all the other buffs, level 3 is great. But if you're going that far, I really think you need to get in here for that extra damage, and then the affliction is like incidental. To me, the carry pieces are levels 1 and 2, and price depending, and your budget depending. So to me, Fizbo is absolutely the most important of these 2. And for the reasons I laid out, that is the one that I feel is must have, at least at those lower league levels. Warborn, I think, is strong, and I could find justification for getting it. I don't see the same degree of importance around it. And so for me, Fizbo is the winner of this legendary battle, and that'll be the one that I'm aiming to get. I would love to get a level 4. We'll see if crypto assets and future green candles allow that, or if I'm going to be stuck with that level 1 or 2. But I will acquire 1 BCX of this, and I'm going to scratch and claw to try and get that 43,000 DC version that's on the market right now. Like I said, there's about 20 or 25 BCX of that. So if you want one, go grab one too. I'm going to leave it at that. Guys, Happy New Year. I'm going to post this one tonight at midnight, December 31st, 2024. I hope 2025 is an amazing one for you and your family. I hope it's an amazing one for Splinterlands and for blockchain. I think big things are coming for altcoin markets and for green candles. I think fun is ahead. So I hope we can enjoy that together. And I look forward to getting back on the lives once the kids are back in school. If you have a family, at least in Canada and America, I think the kids are still out, and mine will be out until the 7th or 8th. So like somewhere after that, I'm going to start doing my lives again with my members as well as with the general public. Thanks, guys. Have an amazing day. God bless.